First contact and rising tensions. The vastness of space had always beckoned humanity, a siren call that whispered of endless possibilities and untold wonders. But as the saying goes, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. And humanity got it in spades on that fateful day in 2157 when the Zirconian ships first appeared in Earth's orbit. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's most advanced spacefaring vessel, as she gazed at the holographic display of the alien fleet. Sleek, crystalline structures that seemed to defy the very laws of physics, the Zirconian ships dwarfed even the largest human vessels. Status report, Chen barked, her eyes never leaving the display. Lieutenant Commander Rajesh Patel's fingers danced across his console. No aggressive movements detected, Admiral. They're holding position just beyond lunar orbit. Chen nodded, her face a mask of calm that belied the storm of thoughts raging in her mind. First contact. After centuries of wondering, searching, hoping, here they were, and humanity was woefully unprepared. Open a channel, she ordered. Let's see if they're in a talking mood. For 3 days, the Horizon maintained its vigil as Earth's governments scrambled to form a unified response. The United Earth Council, hastily convened in Geneva, debated endlessly while the world below held its collective breath. On the 4th day, the Zirconians finally responded. The alien that appeared on the view screen was vaguely humanoid, with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer and shift like oil on water. Its eyes, 4 obsidian orbs arranged in a diamond pattern, regarded Chen with an unsettling intensity. Greetings, humans, it spoke, its words translated by the ship's AI. I am High Commander Zix of the Zirconian Imperium. We come seeking new worlds to bring into our glorious empire. Chen's spine stiffened. This world is already inhabited, High Commander. We have no interest in becoming part of your empire. Zix's mouth, a lipless slit, curved into what might have been a smile. Oh, but you misunderstand, Admiral. This is not an invitation. It is a statement of fact. You will join us, or you will be eliminated. The choice is yours. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Well, Chen muttered, I guess that answers the age-old question of whether aliens come in peace. In the weeks that followed, Earth became a hive of frenzied activity. Military installations worldwide went on high alert, mothballed weapons platforms were hastily reactivated, and civilian populations were prepared for potential evacuation. But even as humanity girded itself for war, diplomatic channels remained open. The newly formed Earth Diplomatic Corps, led by the brilliant and unorthodox Dr. Amelia Frost, worked tirelessly to find a peaceful resolution. Frost, a tall, lanky woman with a shock of prematurely white hair, paced the conference room aboard the Horizon. We need to understand their motivations, she insisted. No species crosses the vastness of space just for conquest. There has to be more to it. Chen, who had been appointed as military liaison to the diplomatic team, frowned. Does it matter? They've made their intentions clear. We need to focus on defending Earth, not psychoanalyzing our would-be conquerors. Frost spun to face the Admiral, her green eyes flashing. It always matters, Sarah. Understanding is the key to everything. If we can figure out what they really want, we might be able to negotiate. Their argument was interrupted by a priority message from Earth. The Zirconians had made their first move, establishing a base on Mars. Humanity's fledgling colonies on the Red Planet had been given an ultimatum: submit or be destroyed. As reports flooded in of Zirconian ships descending on Mars, Chen felt a cold knot form in her stomach. This was it. The moment humanity had simultaneously dreaded and prepared for since the dawn of the space age. We're out of time, she said quietly. The war has begun. Frost's face fell, but she nodded resolutely. Then we adapt. We'll continue diplomatic efforts, but now we do it from a position of strength. Show them humanity won't go down without a fight. Over the next month, a tense stalemate settled in. The Zarkonians, seemingly content with their Martian foothold, made no further aggressive moves. But their fleet remained in orbit, a constant reminder of the sword hanging over Earth's head. Chen used the time to coordinate with military leaders worldwide, pooling resources and devising strategies. The Horizon became the de facto command center for Earth's defense, its advanced systems giving humanity a fighting chance against the alien threat. It was during one of these strategy sessions that an urgent message came through from the lunar research base. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the lead xenobiologist, appeared on the screen, her dark eyes wide with excitement. "Admiral, we've made a breakthrough," she announced breathlessly. "We've been analyzing the data from our long-range scans of the Zarkonian ships, and we've discovered something incredible. Their technology, it's partially organic." Chen leaned forward, intrigued. "Organic? You mean like biotech?" Rodriguez nodded vigorously. "More than that. It's as if their ships are alive. And here's the kicker. They seem to share some fundamental similarities with Earth-based life. It's as if they originated here," Frost finished, her mind racing with the implications. Chen's brow furrowed. "That's impossible. We would have known if an advanced civilization had evolved on Earth alongside us." "Not necessarily," Frost mused. "What if they left Earth millions of years ago, evolved in the depths of space? It will explain their interest in our planet." Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lieutenant Patel's voice came over the comms, tense and urgent. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Zarkonian fleet. They're powering up weapons." Chen was already moving, racing for the bridge with Frost hot on her heels. As they burst onto the command deck, the view screen showed a terrifying sight. The Zarkonian ships were realigning, their crystalline structures pulsing with ominous energy. "All hands, battle stations," Chen roared. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." As the crew scrambled to their positions, Chen caught Frost's eye. The diplomat nodded grimly, understanding passing between them. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. The first salvo from the Zarkonian fleet lit up the sky, a barrage of energy weapons that made the stars themselves seem dim in comparison. Earth's orbital defenses, hastily cobbled together from existing satellites and weapon platforms, returned fire. The battle for Earth had begun. As chaos erupted around them, Chen couldn't help but feel a glimmer of pride. Humanity, faced with an overwhelming alien threat, hadn't cowered or submitted. They had risen to the challenge, united in a way that centuries of terrestrial conflicts had never managed to achieve. "Evasive maneuvers," she ordered as another blast rocked the ship. "And get me a targeting solution on their lead vessel. If they want to fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget." The Horizon lurched into action, its advanced engines pushing it through a series of complex maneuvers that would have torn a lesser ship apart. Around them, the rest of Earth's makeshift fleet engaged the Zarkonians, a dance of death against the backdrop of their blue home world. As the battle raged, Frost worked feverishly at a console, poring over the data from Dr. Rodriguez. "There has to be a connection," she muttered. "Something we're missing." A tremendous explosion rocked the ship, sending both women stumbling. Chen steadied herself against a bulkhead, her eyes widening as she saw the source of the blast. One of the Zarkonian ships had been hit, its crystalline structure fracturing and splintering in the vacuum of space. But instead of the cold, lifeless debris they expected, the fragments seemed to writhe and pulse, as if in pain. "My God," Frost breathed. "They really are alive." As the implications of this discovery began to sink in, the battle around them took on a new, horrifying dimension. They weren't just fighting ships, they were fighting living beings. The first part of the story concludes with humanity grappling with this shocking revelation, even as the fate of their world hangs in the balance. The stage is set for a conflict that will challenge not just humanity's military might, but their understanding of life itself. The alien invasion begins. The realization that the Zirconian ships were alive sent shockwaves through Earth's defenders. As the battle raged in orbit, Admiral Chen found herself facing not just a tactical challenge, but an ethical dilemma. "We can't just destroy them," Dr. Frost argued, her voice strained as another blast rocked the horizon. "They're sentient beings." Chen gritted her teeth, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "They're sentient beings trying to wipe us out, Amelia. We don't have the luxury of moral debates right now." Even as they spoke, the tide of battle was turning. The Zirconians, with their superior technology and numbers, was slowly but surely overwhelming Earth's defenses. One by one, humanity's orbital platforms winked out, destroyed or disabled by the relentless alien assault. "Admiral," Lieutenant Patel called out, his voice tight with urgency. "They're launching landing craft. Multiple sites across the globe." Chen's heart sank. They had hoped to contain the conflict to space, to keep the horrors of interstellar war from touching Earth itself. That hope was now shattered. "Alert all ground forces," she ordered, "and get me a secure line to the United Earth Council. They need to know we've moved to Phase 2. As the Horizon continued its desperate fight in orbit, the scene on Earth rapidly descended into chaos. Zirconian dropships pierced the atmosphere, their living hulls glowing red-hot from the friction of re-entry. They landed in major cities across the globe: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Rio de Janeiro. In Times Square, panicked civilians fled as a massive Zirconian ship crashed into the heart of the iconic intersection. The vessel's crystalline structure seemed to melt and reform, extruding tendrils that anchored it to the surrounding buildings. From within its translucent body, alien warriors emerged, towering, iridescent beings that moved with unsettling grace. Colonel Jake Martinez, commander of the New York National Guard, watched the alien advance from his hastily established command post in Grand Central Station. "Jesus," he muttered, lowering his binoculars. "It's like something out of a nightmare." His second-in-command, Captain Lisa Wong, nodded grimly. "Sir, what are your orders?" Martinez took a deep breath, steeling himself. "We hold the line, Captain. Whatever it takes, we don't let them push past 42nd Street. For New York, for Earth." As similar scenes played out in cities around the world, the true scale of the Zirconian invasion became clear. This was no mere raid or show of force, it was a full-scale attempt to seize control of humanity's homeworld. Back on the horizon, Admiral Chen received a priority transmission from the lunar base. Dr. Rodriguez's face appeared on the screen, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. "Admiral, we've made another breakthrough," she said breathlessly. "We've been analyzing the organic components of the Zirconian ships, and we found something impossible." Chen leaned forward, intrigued despite the chaos of battle around her. "Go on, Doctor." "Their genetic structure, it's not just similar to Earth life. It's a perfect match for a species that went extinct millions of years ago. A species we thought was just a failed evolutionary experiment." Frost, who had been listening intently, gasped. "The Ediacarans," she whispered. Rodriguez nodded vigorously. "Exactly. The Zirconians aren't alien invaders, Admiral. They're Earth's prodigal children, returning home after eons of evolution in deep space." The implications of this revelation were staggering. The Ediacarans, strange soft-bodied organisms that had flourished in Earth's oceans over 500 million years ago, had long been considered an evolutionary dead end. But now, it seemed, some of them had somehow left Earth, perhaps carried away by an ancient asteroid impact. In the harsh environs of space, they had evolved into the crystalline, technologically advanced Zirconians. "This changes everything," Frost said, her mind racing. "If we can communicate this to them, make them understand that this is their home too." Her words were cut off by another violent shudder as the horizon took a direct hit. Sparks flew from overloading consoles, and the acrid smell of burning circuitry filled the air. "Hull breach on Deck C," Playtel shouted over the alarms. "We're losing power to the main engines." Chen's face was grim as she assessed their options. The Horizon was the linchpin of Earth's orbital defense, the most advanced ship humanity had ever produced. If it fell, the path to Earth would be wide open. "Initiate Protocol Omega," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the order. Frost's eyes widened in shock. "Sarah, no, that's a suicide mission." Protocol Omega was a last-ditch tactic, one that Chen had hoped never to use. It involved using the Horizon itself as a massive kinetic weapon, ramming it into the heart of the Zarkonian fleet at full speed. "It's the only way," Chen replied, her eyes meeting Frost's. "We can't win this fight conventionally, but if we can take out their command ship, it might buy Earth enough time to mount a proper defense." She turned to address the rest of the bridge crew. "All non-essential personnel, get to the escape pods. That's an order." As the crew scrambled to comply, Chen input her command codes, transferring all remaining power to the engines and navigation systems. The Horizon's hull groaned in protest as it pushed beyond its design limits, accelerating on a collision course with the largest Zarkonian vessel. Frost stood by Chen's side, having refused to evacuate. "You know," she said with a wry smile, "when I signed up for the diplomatic cause, I didn't expect it to end like this." Chen allowed herself a small chuckle. "Life's full of surprises, isn't it?" As the Horizon hurtled towards its target, the Zarkonian fleet seemed to realize what was happening. They concentrated their fire on the human ship, trying desperately to stop its suicidal charge. But it was too late. With a blinding flash and a soundless explosion, the Horizon plowed into the Zarkonian command ship. The impact sent shockwaves through space, disrupting the alien fleet's formation and destroying several nearby vessels. In the chaotic aftermath of the collision, the remaining human ships seized the opportunity, launching a coordinated attack that drove the disoriented Zarkonians back. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had scored a significant victory. But the cost was high. The Horizon, Earth's greatest technological achievement, was gone, and with it, two of humanity's finest leaders, Admiral Sarah Chen and Dr. Amelia Frost. As news of their sacrifice spread, a wave of determination swept through Earth's defenders. From the trenches of New York to the bunkers of Beijing, humans fought with renewed vigor, pushing back against the Zarkonian ground forces. In the ruins of Times Square, Colonel Martinez rallied his troops for a counterattack. "They may have come from the stars," he shouted over the sound of gunfire and alien weaponry, "but this is our home, and we will defend it to the last breath." With a roar of defiance, the human soldiers surged forward, catching the Zarkonians off guard. For the first time, the aliens found themselves on the defensive, struggling to hold their ground against the relentless human assault. As the battle raged on Earth and in orbit, a small team of scientists on the lunar base worked feverishly to unlock the secrets of Zarkonian biology. Dr. Rodriguez, driven by the sacrifices of Chen and Frost, pushed herself to the brink of exhaustion, determined to find a way to communicate with the invaders. "We have to make them understand," she muttered, poring over genetic sequences and translation algorithms. "This isn't just our world, it's theirs too. There has to be a way to end this without mutual destruction." Little did she know, her work would soon become the key to humanity's survival and the catalyst for a revelation that would shake both species to their core. As the second part of our story draws to a close, the fate of Earth hangs in the balance. Humanity has shown its resilience and determination, but the Zarkonians' technological superiority remains a deadly threat. The stage is set for a conflict that will test not just the military might of both species, but their capacity for understanding and coexistence. In the next part, we'll explore the human counteroffensive and the desperate race to find a way to communicate with the Zarkonians before it's too late. Humanity's counteroffensive. The sacrifice of the UES Horizon had bought Earth precious time, but the war was far from over. As the dust settled from the orbital battle, humanity found itself in a precarious position, bloodied but unbowed, facing an enemy that was technologically superior but suddenly vulnerable. In the war room beneath the ruins of the Pentagon, General Marcus Donovan surveyed the holographic map of Earth, its surface dotted with red markers indicating Zarkonian strongholds. His weathered face was grim as he addressed the assembled military leaders from around the world. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a narrow window of opportunity," he said, his voice gravelly from too many sleepless nights. "The aliens are in disarray after losing their command ship. We need to strike now, hard and fast, before they can regroup." Colonel Yuki Tanaka of the Japanese Self-Defense Forces leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "What about the civilian populations in occupied territories? We can't just abandon them." Donovan nodded, agreed. "That's why we're initiating Operation Lighthouse. While our main forces engage the Zarkonians head-on, special ops teams will infiltrate occupied cities to organize resistance and gather intelligence." As the strategy session continued, halfway across the world in the underbelly of Rio de Janeiro, that very plan was already being put into action. Captain Maria Santos crouched in the shadows of a crumbling favela, her eyes fixed on the crystalline spire that now dominated the city's skyline. Once, it had been the iconic Christ the Redeemer statue. Now, it was a grotesque hybrid of alien technology and Earth landmarks, a visceral symbol of the Zarkonian occupation. "Logo, what's your status?" she whispered into her comm unit. "In position, Captain," came the reply from her second-in-command. "The locals are ready. They're scared, but they're angry too. They'll fight." Santos allowed herself a grim smile. "Good. Tell them we move at dawn. Viva a resistencia." As resistance cells around the world prepared for coordinated strikes, humanity's scientific community was working around the clock to level the technological playing field. In a hidden lab beneath the streets of London, Dr. Aisha Malik put the finishing touches on what she hoped would be a game-changer. The device before her, cobbled together from salvaged Zarkonian tech and human ingenuity, hummed with potential. But even as victory seemed within reach, a chilling message came from the lunar base. "This is Dr. Rodriguez to all Earth forces," her voice crackled over the emergency broadcast system. "The Zarkonians are preparing a final attack, some kind of superweapon. We don't know exactly what it does, but the energy readings are off the charts. If it hits Earth, there might not be anything left to save." The news sent a wave of dread through the human forces. They had come so far, fought so hard. Was it all for nothing? In orbit, Commander Hendricks made a snap decision. "All ships, form up on me," she ordered. "We're going to take out that superweapon or die trying." As Earth's remaining space fleet prepared for what might be its final battle, Rodriguez and her team worked frantically to complete their translation matrix. If they could just communicate with the Zarkonians, make them understand the truth about their shared heritage, perhaps this madness could be stopped. On the ground, the human forces regrouped, preparing for a last, desperate stand against whatever the aliens might throw at them. In command centers and foxholes around the world, soldiers and civilians alike steeled themselves for what was to come. As the Zarkonian superweapon powered up, casting an ominous glow visible even from Earth's surface, humanity faced its darkest hour. The counteroffensive had been successful beyond their wildest hopes, but would it be enough? Could they find a way to stop the aliens before it was too late? The fate of Earth, and perhaps the future of two species bound by an ancient, forgotten kinship, hung in the balance. The next few hours would determine whether humanity would survive to see another dawn, or whether the Zarkonians would reclaim the world they had abandoned eons ago. As Part 3 draws to a close, the stage is set for a climactic confrontation. The human counteroffensive has pushed the Zarkonians to the brink, but the aliens' superweapon threatens to undo all of humanity's hard-fought gains. With time running out, the key to survival may lie not in military might, but in the ability to bridge the gap between two long-separated branches of Earth's evolutionary tree. uncovering alien secrets. As the Zirconian superweapon loomed over Earth, casting an eerie glow across the battle-scarred planet, humanity's fate balanced on a knife's edge. In this moment of crisis, the key to survival lay not on the front lines, but in the labs and command centers where Earth's brightest minds raced against time. On the lunar base, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stared at her computer screen, her eyes burning from exhaustion. Lines of alien code scrolled past, a dizzying mix of mathematical symbols and what appeared to be organic compounds. "Come on," she muttered, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Give up your secrets." Suddenly, a pattern emerged. Rodriguez's eyes widened as she realized what she was seeing. "This can't be right," she whispered, double-checking her findings. But there was no mistake. She keyed the intercom. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command. Now." In the underground war room, General Donovan was coordinating the global defense when Rodriguez's call came through. Her holographic image flickered to life, her expression a mix of excitement and disbelief. "General, we've cracked it," she said breathlessly. "The Zirconian language, their technology, it's all based on DNA. Their ships, their weapons, they're not just alive, they're a form of engineered life. And here's the kicker, it's all built on Earth genetics." Donovan leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "What are you saying, Doctor?" "The Zirconians aren't just similar to the ancient Ediacarans, they are the Ediacarans. Or rather, what the Ediacarans became. They didn't go extinct, they left Earth, possibly due to changing conditions, and now they're back, trying to reclaim their ancestral home." The implications were staggering. This wasn't just an alien invasion, it was a family feud on an evolutionary scale. "Can we communicate with them?" Donovan asked, his mind racing with the possibilities. Rodriguez nodded. "I think so. We've developed a rudimentary translation matrix. If we can get close enough to their command structure, we might be able to open a dialogue." Donovan's eyes hardened with determination. "Then that's our play. I'll contact our forces in orbit. They'll get you to the Zirconian flagship." As plans were set in motion, another breakthrough was unfolding in London. Dr. Malik and her team had been studying the device they used to disrupt the Zirconian neural network. What they discovered left them awestruck. "It's not just disrupting their communication," Malik explained to her colleagues. "It's rewriting their genetic code in real time. We're not just jamming them, we're changing them." Dr. Y leaned in, his eyes wide. "Changing them how?" Malik pulled up a series of genetic sequences on her holodisplay. "Look at this. Their DNA is reverting to a more Earth-like state. It's as if they're remembering where they came from." The implications were both thrilling and terrifying. They had stumbled upon a way to potentially end the war, but at what cost? Were they saving humanity, or committing genocide against a long-lost branch of Earth's tree of life? As these revelations unfolded, the battle in orbit reached its zenith. Commander Hendricks and her Ractic fleet engaged the Zirconian ships, protecting their superweapon. It was a desperate, brutal fight, with human ships darting between the massive alien vessels like angry wasps. "All ships, focus fire on Sector 7. Hendricks ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "We need to punch a hole for the infiltration team." Dr. Rodriguez, strapped into a seat aboard a stealth shuttle, felt her heart race as they approached the Zirconian flagship. In her hands, she clutched a device that held humanity's last best hope, the translation matrix that might allow communication with the aliens. As they neared their target, Rodriguez couldn't help but marvel at the Zirconian ship. Up close, its crystalline structure pulsed with life, intricate patterns flowing across its surface like blood through veins. "My God," she whispered, "it's beautiful." The shuttle's pilot, a grizzled veteran named Sergeant Kowalski, grunted. "Sure, if you like your beauty with a side of apocalyptic destruction." Their banter was cut short as they made their final approach. With a bone-jarring thud, the shuttle latched onto the alien vessel's hull. Kowalski turned to Rodriguez, his expression grim. "This is where I leave you, Doc. Good luck in there. For all our sakes." Rodriguez nodded, swallowing hard as she prepared to enter the airlock. This was it, the moment that would determine the fate of two species. As she stepped into the alien ship, Rodriguez was struck by the organic nature of her surroundings. The corridors seemed to breathe, walls pulsing with an inner light. She activated her translation device, hoping against hope that it would work. Suddenly, a group of Zirconians rounded the corner. Rodriguez froze, her heart pounding. This was the moment of truth. The aliens approached, their iridescent bodies shimmering in the ship's bioluminescent glow. Rodriguez held up the translation device, her voice shaky but determined. "We come from Earth," she said, the device translating her words into a series of complex bioelectrical signals. "We are your kin. Please, let us talk." The Zirconians stopped, their obsidian eyes widening in what might have been surprise. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, neither side moved. Then, slowly, one of the aliens stepped forward. It raised a limb, touching the translation device gently. A series of pulses emanated from its body, which Rodriguez's device struggled to interpret. "Earthkin," came the halting translation. "Impossible. The birthing world was lost." Rodriguez felt a surge of hope. "Not lost," she said. "Changed, as you have changed, but we share the same origins. Please, take me to your leaders. We need to stop this war before it's too late." As Rodriguez was escorted deeper into the ship, events on Earth took a dramatic turn. Dr. Malik's team, working in conjunction with military units around the globe, began deploying modified versions of their disruption device on a massive scale. The effect was immediate and startling. Zirconian forces across the planet began to falter, their movements becoming erratic. But more than that, they began to change physically, their crystalline structures softening, becoming more organic. In Rio de Janeiro, Captain Santos watched in amazement as the alien spire that had replaced Christ the Redeemer began to pulse and shift. "What in the name of all that's holy?" she breathed. Similar scenes played out around the world. The Zirconian structures and ships were transforming, becoming more Earth-like with each passing moment. It was as if millions of years of evolution were being undone in a matter of hours. But the greatest change was yet to come. As Dr. Rodriguez was brought before the Zirconian High Command, the full truth of their shared heritage was revealed, and with that revelation came a choice that would shape the future of both species. As Part 4 draws to a close, the stage is set for a momentous confrontation. The secrets of the Zirconians have been uncovered, revealing a connection to Earth that spans millions of years. But will this knowledge be enough to stop the looming threat of the superweapon and end the war? The fate of two species hangs in the balance as humanity's emissary faces the leaders of their long-lost kin. The final battle. The cavernous chamber at the heart of the Zirconian flagship pulsed with an otherworldly energy. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the alien high command, her heart pounding as she faced beings that were both utterly alien and distantly familiar. The Zirconian leader, a towering figure with a crystalline crest, regarded her with its obsidian eyes. "You claim kinship," it said, the translation device rendering its bioelectrical pulses into halting English. "Prove this." Rodriguez took a deep breath, steeling herself. This was the moment everything hinged on. She activated a holographic display, showing the genetic comparisons between Zirconians and Earth life. "Look," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "Your DNA, the very essence of what you are, is built on the same foundation as ours. You didn't evolve in the depths of space. You evolved on Earth millions of years ago." The Zirconian leaders conferred, their bodies pulsing with rapid bioluminescent patterns. Finally, the leader turned back to Rodriguez. "If this is true," it said, "why do you resist our return? We come to reclaim our birthright." Rodriguez's eyes flashed with determination. "Earth has changed since you left. New life has evolved, including us. This is our home now, too. We don't want to fight you, but we will defend our world. As this tense dialogue unfolded in orbit, the situation on Earth reached a critical point. The effects of Dr. Malik's modified disruption devices were spreading rapidly, causing widespread changes in Zirconian forces and structures. In New York, Colonel Martinez watched in awe as the alien stronghold in Times Square began to shift and warp. The crystalline structures softened, taking on more organic, almost plant-like forms. "What the hell is happening?" he muttered, lowering his weapon as the alien defenders seemed to lose cohesion, their bodies flickering between crystalline and more Earth-like forms. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Beijing, the alien spire that had dominated the Forbidden City crumbled, transforming into a massive coral-like structure. In the Amazon rainforest, Zirconian war machines sank into the earth, merging with the surrounding vegetation. But even as these changes swept across the planet, the looming threat of the Zirconian superweapon remained. In orbit, Commander Hendricks and her fleet continued their desperate battle to breach the weapon's defenses. "All ships, this is it," Hendricks called out, her voice tight with tension. "We've got one shot at this. Hit them with everything we've got." The human fleet unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy weapons, focusing all their firepower on a single point in the superweapon's defenses. For a moment, it seemed as if their efforts were in vain. Then, with a brilliant flash, a breach appeared in the alien shields. "We've got an opening," Hendricks shouted. "Striker Squad, you're up. Take that thing out." A small team of fighters, led by the ace pilot Maya Phoenix Ramos, dove towards the breach. They weaved through a storm of alien counterfire, their ships bucking and shuddering under the assault. Almost there, Ramos gritted out, her hands steady on the controls. Just a little closer. Back on the Zirconian flagship, the alien leaders were still processing Rodriguez's revelations when alarms blared throughout the ship. The leader's crest flashed with agitation. "Your kind attacks even as you speak of peace," it accused. Rodriguez's eyes widened in panic. "No, wait. This isn't what we want. Please, you have to stop the weapon. We can find a way to coexist, but not if you destroy our world." For a long moment, the Zirconian leader was silent, its alien features unreadable. Then, slowly, it extended a limb towards a control panel. Perhaps we have been too hasty," it said. "We will stand down the weapon." Relief flooded through Rodriguez, but it was short-lived. Before the leader could input the command, the ship rocked violently. Warning lights flashed across the alien consoles. "What's happening?" Rodriguez demanded. The Zirconian leader's crest pulsed with alarm. "The weapon, it's become unstable. The attack has triggered a cascade reaction. If it's not stopped, it will destroy not just your world, but ours as well." Realization dawned on Rodriguez. The superweapon wasn't just a tool of destruction. It was a terraforming device meant to reshape Earth into a form more suitable for the Zirconians. But now, damaged and out of control, it threatened to tear the planet apart. "Can you stop it?" she asked, desperation creeping into her voice. The alien leader's response was grim. "Not from here. The failsafes are not responding. It would require a direct interface at the weapon itself." Rodriguez's mind raced. There was only one option left, and it was beyond risky. She keyed her communicator. "This is Rodriguez to all Earth forces. The weapon is out of control. We need to shut it down manually, or both our species are finished." As her message echoed across the human communication channels, a tense silence fell over the battlefields of Earth and space. Then, one by one, responses began to pour in. "This is Ramos. My team is closest to the weapon. We'll make the approach." "Martinez here. We've got your back, Phoenix. Give 'em hell." Santos reporting in. "Whatever you need, we're ready." As humanity rallied for one final desperate push, the Zirconian leader turned to Rodriguez. Its alien features seemed to soften, taking on an almost wistful quality. "Perhaps," it said softly, "we are not so different after all." With that, it began issuing orders to its own forces. Zarkonian ships, previously engaged in battle, now moved to support the human strike team. It was an unlikely alliance, formed in the crucible of mutual extinction. As Ramos and her team approached the superweapon, escorted by both human and Zarkonian ships, the fate of two species hung in the balance. The final battle was not just for the fate of Earth, but for the shared future of two long-separated branches of life. The superweapon loomed before them, a massive construct of crystalline alien technology pulsing with ominous energy. Ramos took a deep breath, her hands steady on the controls. "Well, team," she said, a grim smile on her face, "let's go save the world." As Part 5 concludes, we stand on the precipice of the final confrontation. Humanity and Zarkonians, once bitter enemies, now find themselves in an uneasy alliance against a threat of their own making. The stage is set for a climactic struggle that will determine the fate of Earth and the future of two species bound by an ancient, shared heritage. A new galactic order. The superweapon loomed before them, a colossal structure of crystalline alien technology pulsing with ominous energy. Maya Phoenix Ramos and her strike team approached in their fighters, flanked by an unlikely alliance of human and Zarkonian ships. "All units, this is Phoenix," Ramos called out, her voice steady despite the enormity of their task. "We've got one shot at this. Let's make it count." As they neared the weapon, its defenses came to life. Beams of searing energy lashed out, forcing the Allied fleet into evasive maneuvers. Ramos gritted her teeth as she weaved through the barrage, her fighter bucking and shuddering under the assault. "We can't get close enough," one of her wingmen called out, panic edging into his voice. Suddenly, a massive Zarkonian ship moved into position, using its bulk to shield the smaller human craft. Its crystalline surface glowed as it absorbed the brunt of the weapon's assault. "Earthkin," came the translated message from the Zarkonian ship. "We will give you the opening you need. Make it count." Ramos watched in awe as the alien vessel began to fragment, pieces of its living structure detaching to intercept incoming fire. It was sacrificing itself to give them a chance. "Thank you," she whispered, then keyed her comm. "This is it, team. Full thrust." The human fighters shot forward, streaking towards the now exposed core of the superweapon. As they approached, Ramos could see the swirling vortex of energy at its heart, a maelstrom of power that threatened to tear the very fabric of space-time. "We're going to have to manually override the core," Ramos realized. "That means..." A one-way trip, her co-pilot, Lieutenant Jared Chen, finished grimly. "I volunteer." Ramos shook her head. "No, Jared, I'm the squad leader. This is on me." Before Chen could protest, Ramos had already made her decision. She locked her fighter on a collision course with the core and prepared to eject. "Phoenix to all units," she broadcast. "I'm going in. Whatever happens, it's been an honor serving with you all. For Earth." With that, Ramos ejected from her fighter moments before it plunged into the swirling vortex of the weapon's core. The resulting explosion sent shockwaves through space, momentarily blinding all observers. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the chaotic energies of the superweapon began to subside. The threat that had loomed over Earth started to dissipate. Cheers erupted across human and Zarkonian communications channels alike. Against all odds, they had done it. The superweapon was neutralized, and with it, the immediate threat to both species. As the dust settled, the true scale of what had been accomplished began to sink in. Humanity and the Zarkonians, long-lost kin separated by millions of years of evolution, had come together in their darkest hour. On Earth, the transformation triggered by Dr. Malik's devices continued. Zarkonian structures and beings alike evolved rapidly, becoming more attuned to Earth's biosphere. What had once been alien and threatening now began to integrate with the planet's ecosystems in fascinating and beautiful ways. In the ruins of Rio de Janeiro, Captain Santos watched in awe as the former Zirconian stronghold blossomed into a towering organic structure that seemed to bridge the gap between Earth's flora and alien technology. "It's like they're coming home," she murmured, lowering her weapon as former enemies transformed before her eyes. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In New York, the crystalline spires that had dominated the skyline softened and twisted, merging with the steel and concrete of human architecture to create hybrid structures of breathtaking beauty. In the Amazon, Zirconian war machines sank roots into the earth, becoming bizarre but harmonious additions to the rainforest canopy. On the Zirconian flagship, Dr. Rodriguez stood with the alien leader, watching the transformation unfold on view screens. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder and trepidation. The Zirconian leader's crest pulsed with what might have been contemplation. Now it said, "We learn to be of Earth once more, and perhaps in time we can explore the stars together, as kin should." In the days and weeks that followed, a new order began to emerge. The United Earth Council, once formed to coordinate humanity's defense, now expanded to include Zirconian representatives. The challenges were immense: two radically different species learning to coexist, overcoming centuries of conflict and mistrust. But there were moments of hope and wonder too. Zirconian biological technology, once used for war, was repurposed to heal Earth's wounded ecosystems. Polluted wastelands bloomed with new life, while human ingenuity found ways to adapt and improve upon alien innovations. A year after the final battle, a historic ceremony was held atop the newly transformed Christ, the Redeemer statue in Rio. The massive figure, now a breathtaking fusion of human artistry and Zirconian bioengineering, stood as a symbol of the new era. Dr. Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's chief xenobiologist and diplomat, stood before a crowd of humans and Zirconians alike. Beside her was the Zirconian leader, its crystalline form now softened and more organic, adapted to Earth's environment. "Today," Rodriguez began, her voice carrying across the assembled throng and broadcast around the world, "we celebrate not just the end of a war, but the beginning of a new chapter in Earth's history. We have rediscovered our long-lost kin, and in doing so, we have expanded our understanding of what it means to be children of this planet." The Zirconian leader stepped forward, its body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that the crowd had learned to recognize as an expression of deep emotion. "We came seeking a lost home," it said, the translation devices rendering its bioelectrical speech into dozens of human languages simultaneously. "We found not just a world reborn, but a family we had forgotten. Together, we will forge a future greater than either of us could have imagined alone." As the ceremony concluded, eyes turned to the stars above. The same vastness that had once brought terror and war now beckoned with the promise of exploration and discovery. Humanity and Zirconians, Earth's prodigal children reunited, stood poised to take their first steps into a larger galaxy, not as conquerors, but as explorers, diplomats, and guardians of their shared homeworld. In orbit, a new generation of ships was taking shape, marvels of bioengineering that combined the best of human and Zirconian technology. They would be crewed by both species, ready to face whatever wonders and challenges the universe had in store. As night fell over Rio, Dr. Rodriguez found a quiet moment alone. She looked up at the stars, thinking of all that had been lost and gained. Her thoughts turned to Admiral Chen, Dr. Frost, and countless others who had sacrificed everything to make this moment possible. "We did it," she whispered to the night sky. "We found a way. And wherever you are, I hope you can see what we've built from the ashes of war." A shooting star streaked across the heavens, as if in answer, and on Earth below, two species once divided by time and space continued the slow, challenging, but ultimately hopeful work of forging a shared destiny among the stars. As our story concludes, we leave Earth at the dawn of a new era. The war that nearly destroyed two species has instead united them, opening up possibilities beyond imagination. The future remains uncertain, filled with challenges and opportunities in equal measure. But for the first time in millions of years, all of Earth's children stand together, ready to face that future as one.